edition of the Value Exchange podcast. I am Annabelle Lambert, and I am joined, as always, by my regular co-host, Rob Pye. Say hello, Rob Pye.
Good morning, Annabelle.
We are delighted today to be joined by Jacqueline Hollows, also known to many as Mama J. We first met Jacqueline through one of our ethos partners, Claire Borer. Shout out to Claire. Hi, Claire. And I think, Jacqueline, you've also did some work with Thames Valley Police, or at least we're in conversations with them and around that Reading area anyway. But Jacqueline... We met Jacqueline on the basis that she had founded Beyond Recovery, which is a community interest company on a mission to reform the criminal justice system by using those who have been within it, those who are most socially affected and have the experience of that lived life, because they really do have a lot of the answers in not only in the criminal justice system, but in communities and just generally in life. Those who've lived it have the answers. They just need to be encouraged and helped to get them out there. And I think that is what Beyond Recovery is a lot about, helping those individuals and helping bring about the reform. I think since we met Jacqueline first, she's also become an author, and I know she's about to publish a book, a memoir of her work with prisons, which is exciting, which I've only just found out, which is exciting. But she's also a mental health mentor, she is a life coach, and a general all-round, I think good egg is how we would term it, if we use those words. But I'm going to let Jacqueline tell you more about her and her amazing stories that she has. And so Jacqueline, tell us who you are, where you are, and about you.
Thank you so much. That was a very lovely introduction. So yes, I'm Jacqueline, also known as Mama J, by many of the people that I've worked with. And I did found Beyond Recovery in 2015. Before that, I was working in IT and customer services, and that's where all my experience and qualifications are. But I also was very much struggling, and it didn't look like that from the outside. So my life looked like, I was a high flyer, I had an executive apartment, a baby grand piano, etc. I had all the an Audi TT, which I miss. But I used to say I've clawed myself up from the gutter. So I had a very poor start in life. I had lots of trauma in my childhood, and I left school without any qualifications. I took care of my mother, and then eventually, sort of started working and clawing my way up. And because of that, I always felt I wasn't good enough, or I was accidentally, I accidentally got a degree in computer science, and I accidentally got a job in being an IT consultant, and it always really felt like that. Forget the hard work and determination that went with it. And I self-medicated with booze and with relationships, and just thought that life was a struggle, and that's it. You got to get on with it. I came across in 2009, stuff happened. I actually realized that despite the outward appearance, I was living on credit. The housing market collapsed. The banks were in crisis, and I basically lost everything, including my job. And it was one of the best things that's ever happened to me, because it caused me to take a good, hard, long look at who I was and who I was being in the world. And it's weird now, but, I could see that I could stop pretending. I could stop pretending that I've got it all together. I could stop pretending that I could actually afford the things that I had, the champagne lifestyle. I could stop pretending to be head of operations and IT. I could just sort of start again. And that's what I did, really. I started again. And as I say, I lost everything, literally. I lost my house, I lost my car, and I wasn't in a relationship at the time. I met my partner very quickly afterwards. and I rebuilt from scratch, and I started with me. So I rebuilt me, I learnt about me, and I had counselling and things like that. Turns out I'd got CPDSD, and one of the reasons why which is complex post traumatic stress disorder, and one of the reasons why I behaved in the ways that I did with the drink and so on was actually because of that. And it was really helpful to find that out. I didn't actually find that out until recently, because it made a lot of sense. But I did a lot of work on myself. I did counselling, I did various modalities, neuro-linguistic programming, EFT tapping, and anything with a 3-letter acronym, I was all over it. And,
Next.
But not LSD.
unfortunately not. No.
Yeah.
I was on a journey. I didn't think I was on a spiritual journey. I was on a journey of discovery, but I was also just waking up to people. I'd spent all this time in computers and IT, and then I was waking up to that there were all these amazing people that I met on these various woo-woo stuff. And they were, I don't know, going and feeding refugees in swamps, and going and working in rehabs and working in the community, and just amazing, amazing. And it woke me up, and I realized that maybe I have something that I can bring to the world that isn't about earning a living. I came across an understanding called the 3 principles, which is basically a very simple paradigm that helps people understand that their reality is created from the inside out. And I thought it was a cult. And then accidentally, I started working with people with addictions. And I talked to them about this stuff, and they were having insights. And I saw how amazing they were. Like, they were beautiful and amazing, determined and persistent, and just I felt like I found my family. They were just amazing, beautiful people. And they taught me about the inside out nature of life because I could see it in them. And eventually I realized, well, if they're amazing, I must be amazing too, because we're all amazing. And so, I had insights along the way. And then I founded Beyond Recovery as a way of bringing this understanding to marginalized people, because many of my peers and colleagues were working with businesses and in sports and in relationships and so on, which is great. But the people who really need it, the people on the ground, were the people in prison, or the people with addictions, or the people in the homeless communities. And so that's what I wanted to do. And part of that mission was to end stigma and revolutionise the way we view and treat mental health, addiction, and offending behaviour. Fast forward to COVID. So I was building a thriving social enterprise. I was in 6 or 7 prisons, had a thriving team. We were just about to roll out to 11 prisons in the Southwest, all of that. And COVID came and killed the business, basically. I lost the team. The team had to go and find other things to do. And we weren't allowed in prisons. And we haven't been allowed in prisons until very recently. But what I realized was, and what I found really helpful to share with other people, is that you're not what you do. What you do is just the form of what's coming through you, of your skills and experience and everything from everything you've ever had done to you or happened or done yourself, creates a form, and then you can go out and do that in life. And that could be art, or it could be a business, or it could be writing. And because I realized that, you know, I loved, my ego loved being the prison lady or the prison angel, as some people call me. And I loved that, but that wasn't happening. So what else useful and meaningful could I do? And just a quick summary on that: Beyond Recovery is still alive, and it's a much smaller organisation now. We work with a couple of the guys that you mentioned that were in prison when I first met them, and they've been trained, and they're now facilitators in their own right, and they contribute to our programs. And we work with a gambling addiction service in Bristol, and we run a distance learning program. But it's just a part of what I do, because what I realized is I've walked the walk, and I can help other social entrepreneurs and other people who want to do good in life, and help them and mentor them. So that's a big other side of what I'm building, you know, what I'm building at the moment. And I do write, and I have got previous contributions in books, but then I wrote about, I have to show it because I'm so proud of it.
Yeah,
This is
no,
the
do, so we can see it and read it out.
this is
Yep.
the proof copy of Wing of an Angel. Oops, there you go.
Wing of an Angel.
Wing
Published
of,
when? By who? How do we
this,
buy it?
this will be published in October by IW Press, and it will be on Amazon and various other places. And I'm doing a crowdfund to pay for the publishing. So there will be a small number of hardbacks available through the crowdfund. So that's what I'm
So
currently.
tell us about the book. What's the book about?
So the book originally, it's taken 4.5 years to write. Originally was 3 boxes of notes that in prison you don't have really access to technology. And so I would come home every evening and just write down what I did and write down what I'd seen and so on. And I met some of the most incredible people in prison. And so I was just writing down their stories. And then in 2019, a writer friend of mine, a writing coach, said, I can help you with a book. And lots of people had said to me, when's your book coming out? When's your book coming out? And I was like, I'm not a writer. I don't write, you know, that's not what I do. So she helped me. I did some writing courses with her, and we started to shape the book. And in the first draft, when she read the first draft, she said, it's great and it's interesting, but where are you? You're not in it. And you know what you're doing here with people's stories? We forget about our own story. You know, all the people that you've interviewed, and they're doing all this good stuff, they really only ever talk about the good stuff and the people that they're impacting, and they forget about themselves. And that was the same for me. And I was like, well, who's going to be interested in my story? But she insisted that I write myself in. So the book is now, it's a memoir of me and how I've overcome all of those difficulties, because that's inspiring to people to see that, oh yeah, me too, maybe I could do this or that. And it's based on the hero's journey. So I'm the hero, and the people that I've worked with are heroes, and we go together into the prison system, and we transform, and then we come out the other end. So it also it's quite hard hitting, and it talks about our criminal justice system, and the doesn't focus on the wrongs in there, but how it totally needs to be upended. And it offers hope to people, because my aim is that people could read this book and be inspired for themselves to be who they can be in the world, to really uncover their own potential, but B, they can look at other people in a different way. The people that we walk past, the people that we, you know, before I worked in the prison system, I just thought bad people go to prison. Good, because I don't want bad people. You know, I've been mugged, I've been attacked. I don't want those bad people in my life. And then I went to prison and realized that's just not true. You know, people are not bad. People do bad things, but they're not born bad. And it's very easy for society to write those people off, partly because of the narrative. So this is my small contribution to changing the narrative.
Wow. I'm blown away. I've got questions. Annabelle, do you want to get in there first? No, you might need to take yourself off
Sorry,
mute.
yeah, dogs. Oh, sorry. No, I feel I've been on a similar, not nowhere near as in depth as yours, but just some of the work that we did with young leaders and some of the, you know, there was a Young Leaders was our program where we took 65 young people into our organisation, allowed them to find where they wanted to give value, you know, deliver value, do work, and they designed what it is that they ended up doing. So that was the context, and they were from, you know, disadvantaged county lines, ex-offender down this end, to Russell Group first degree, you know, hugely privileged, but enchanted with, you know, with the work that was available. And this was in lockdown as well, so, you know, the normal routes to what you do when you're 21, you know, work in retail, catering, were all, you know, either closed or limited. And actually, you know, when you come through university and you think, oh, we're going to get a great job, you know, because that's what everybody tells you happens when you leave university, whether that's true or not, you know, yet to be seen. But you know, and it was just absolutely that whole thing that people aren't born by. I felt I learned so much about just individuals are, and many people can't escape their context. They have no choice as to the context that they find themselves in, and that really isn't their fault or how they are or how they're born. They're just responding and reacting to situations they find themselves in. And I think just I love the mission to just enlighten people that we're all just human beings, and we're just trying to get on in life and do what we need to do. And so if we're given, you know, the opportunity, the space, the time to create and talk about what we want, and again, you know, writing yourself into your story, I love that concept, is a great thing. So I feel a lot of empathy with sort of viewing people differently. I feel I've gone through a bit of that myself in the last 4 years, as well. So
Yeah.
hooray. Rob.
Yeah, no, I'm blown away with the story. Can you tell us a bit about 3Ps? Not as, you know, publicity, but what is that? What are the 3Ps? I've heard Claire talk about it, but I've never kind of understood what those principles are about. Is that something you could tell us about?
Yeah, for sure. So the three principles point to the foundation of how our psychological experience works. So the principles are the principle of mind, the principle of consciousness, and the principle of thought. There's three of them. Thought refers to the power of thought, not the personal thoughts that are in our head at any given moment. So there's, what is it, 7 billion or 8 billion people on the planet. Every single person is having a different reality because they're having, and it's not because of their experience or their environment, it's because they're having different thoughts that they engage with. But when we understand the power of thought, when we understand the nature of thought, rather, what we start to see is that thought's neutral, it's transient, it passes through us, and it's what we engage with that creates our reality. The power of the nature of consciousness, or the principle of consciousness, is really in reference to our awareness of life. So we're constantly oscillating and expanding and contracting in consciousness. Sometimes we're in our little tiny contracted consciousness, and all we can see is overwhelm and difficulty and struggle, or focus. That's another contracted but useful way. And then other times we feel very expansive. We're aware of the sunset, the birds, you know, other people, and so on. And we naturally expand and contract like the universe does all through our day, even. But this creates our state of mind. So if we're having negative thoughts are happening and we're in a lower state of consciousness, then our reality looks worse. So, for instance, if I look at my inbox and I'm feeling tired, my inbox looks overwhelming and I feel like I need a 3-month holiday. But there's other days I look at my inbox, I'm all refreshed, and I think, right, let's just bash through that. Okay. And then it's that on a, different levels. And then the principle of mind is how I talk about the principle of mind, which is different for everyone. But to me, this is the essence that we're born with, the life force. I like to compare it to nature. So we are nature. We're part of nature in the same way that acorns grow into oak trees and sunflowers turn to the sun and so on. We have a natural ability to thrive because we're nature, because we're born with that essence. And that essence is never, ever, ever damaged. It's never broken. It's never damaged. So it doesn't matter what's happened. Not that it doesn't matter, but whatever's happened to us in life, or whatever we've done in life, we can't damage the essence, the spirit, if you like. Combined together, those three principles create our psychological experience of life and explain how everybody has a completely different experience. But it also provides a lot of hope because it means that we're not our circumstances, we're not our thoughts, and we're not our labels. And so that's why somebody in prison can feel freer than somebody, living in paradise, because they're free in their mind. And when we're free in our mind, our circumstances are irrelevant. But it also gives people hope because they're way more, and for myself, I've been way more able to see opportunity, to transcend my circumstances, to transcend my CPTSD, to overcome addictions and so on, because I'm more aware that when something's going on for me, I have a better perspective. It changes your Weltanschauung, which I love, which is like your worldview. It changes your worldview because you're able to see that what you're seeing out there is what's being created as a movie in here. And it's a completely unjudgmental paradigm. It's not, for 40 years of my life, I lived in a certain way, and therefore I should now beat myself up about that because now I know better. It's like, okay, I think Annabelle touched on it. I did the best I could with what I knew at the time. Now I know better, I can do better. And whether my bank account's empty or full, that's not what's actually driving me. What's driving me is when my bank account's empty, I get worried, I get concerned, I think, oh my God, I need to get a job. But actually, I go for a walk. And when I go for a walk, my mind clears and then I get a better perspective. And then I think, hang on, what can I do? And I start to see opportunity. Does that
Beautiful. And I think that was so wonderfully explained. I'm so glad we've got you on film, as it were. And I think your story is just so accessible, so easy to understand. So I want to take the next stage of our random chat to everybody who's not a prisoner, addicted, with a substance abuse problem, or to the rest of the world, because I think we draw these lines, don't we, between sort of the behaviours of, well, I'm fortunate, I'm privileged, I earn this, I do that, these are my outputs, and Jacqueline's amazing, and we all celebrate Jacqueline's amazingness, but I'm not. I was privileged. I've got a job by that, and so therefore I'll write a check. People don't experience what you've experienced, not because they haven't suffered a hardship in their life, in their finances, in their relationships, but just because they haven't opened their eyes, they haven't reflected, they haven't just sat down for a moment and had the same experience that you've had, just because they've become conscious and aware. And we're trying to make this series and the work we do and yes, to help people who have been inside and have really bad, but also to join the dots between the people on one side of the fence and another. What would you say to your previous self, that IT genius, or anybody else that's got a job even that isn't inside or with a PTSD, or because I think everybody will love your story, but they go, yeah, but that's you, that's not me. I'm okay. I'm all right. I'm pedaling. I'm pedaling. I'm pedaling. So how can we bring in the parts of society to help everybody experience the sort of joy you have with giving yourself permission to just to wake up and be conscious?
Yeah,
How can we, how can everybody do this?
it's a beautiful question, and I've definitely resonate and seen that with the professional clients that I work with. That thing of, but I'm okay. I've got it all together. I haven't had all that hardship. So what can this do for me? Or how I don't need to do anything differently. My answer to that is, as a writer, what you learn is that you're never writing about your story. You're writing about everybody else's story. Everybody has suffered. Everybody has had grief. Everybody has had a struggle. Everybody has been angry. Everybody has had thoughts, inappropriate thoughts. Everybody has had the whole gamut of human emotions and
And
feelings.
people call that the hero's tale. I know you touched on that earlier in
Yeah,
terms of
yeah,
storytelling and writing, which is like
yeah.
the suffering, the
Yeah,
overcoming obstacles.
exactly, exactly. Everybody has. So they may not have had the extent of this, but they will have had it. So everybody on a day-to-day basis feels overwhelmed by their inbox. Well, I imagine a good percentage of the people do. Or
Metaphorically, even if we don't do email, it's like
yeah,
there's a,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, we've got a
You
lot
know,
going on, haven't we? Yeah.
or fed up with their job, or don't know what to do with their employees, or feeling lonely at the top. We've
Or
all
even
got,
maybe if they don't experience those emotions, do you think maybe that underneath, not experiencing that stress, underneath, there are those issues, because it's kind of if you unpick them, then maybe they're there. Maybe there's
yeah.
you
I
know,
think that there are a small percentage of people who naturally, we're born with innate health. We're born with this essence and this innate health and this life force. We're born with it. Like, it's just natural. As a child, we don't go, oh, I need a project plan to learn to walk. We just, find out we've got legs and walk one day, and, fall on our bum and bump our heads and cry, and then get over it and get on with it. And then we learn to overthink, and we learn to strive, and we learn to get validated by other people, and rely on different things, and then we don't even know that we've done that, because it's just what's going on around us. And so we sort of sleepwalk through life, and and there are very few people who I've met who actually are all together and living in the moment, and just going, this feels good, this doesn't feel good, this feels right, and relying on that. But most of us are being conditioned out of it at some level. And then I think that the people who have achieved, and who feel like they're doing well, and haven't got trauma and so on, I feel like in a contemplative society and a contemplative conversation, they would start to go, yeah, you know, I don't really like that this happens. And, you know, yeah, I have bad moods, but yeah, so what if I shout at all my staff? That's, you know, or I'm stressed. This is what I hear a lot. I'm stressed, and that's what makes me perform better. They don't realize that actually there is a simpler and more wholesome way of being, because it seems like those things are just natural and that we have to have them. And we also live in a society where the hustle is like the norm. You know, you get productivity hacks and how to hustle and how to do this and how to do that. No one says, oh, you probably just need more sleep. Like, and that's probably the biggest factor in our mental health crisis, is that people aren't getting enough rest and sleep, and they think they've got to get on with stuff. So I would say not that everybody needs to be woken up, but that there are levels of unfathomable joy and potential and possibility if you do look towards waking up and look outside of our own conditioning and look towards, and this is why it sounds a little bit woo woo, because then you start to think of consciousness raising groups and so on and so forth. But the fact is, the society's problems are getting bigger. Mental health is getting more prevalent, and so something has to change. And adding some more techniques and tools and this and that doesn't change it. What changes is woken up human beings like yourselves that try to do something. And you can wake up as a CEO of a large multinational organization. You can wake up and have happier staff if just you wake up. But if you stay in the bubble of this is what I've done and this is what works and this is okay and it's okay with these things, then we don't fix the societal problems.
So let's talk outside of prisons and beyond recovery and the coaching side now, in terms of going forward. And so in order to wake up, in order to work with Jacqueline, do I have to have realised that I'm asleep in some way, or I need more sleep, or I have a stress, or
All those things.
what's the journey? What's the ideal journey in terms of you helping people who are not in that, ex-offender or the habit box, the coaching side, which you hinted on. So how do I get into your stuff? What is it that you'd love, the next chapter after the book? Because I know we're moving very quickly here because the book's not even published. But where's the
we've done with the book.
About? Yeah, we're done with the book. We're on the next chapter of the book. I'm excited. I'm excited for you. Where are we going next with this?
I love that question. What just popped in? So there is a route, the normal route. That's also the route that's currently coming would be the people that are working with other people, and so they want to have more impact and so on. Or people that go, do you know what? Yeah, I do want to feel better, and they find me. And so there is that sort of route already existing. But what popped into my mind when you asked that question is, wouldn't it be wonderful if people who are in charge of a lot of people who are running these sorts of businesses, if those people came because actually, can I be more ethical? Can I have a happier workforce? Can I be more inclusive? Can I even understand what that is? I mean, it's a minefield, right? We're all starting to realize our white privilege. We're all starting to realize what we've done and how we've behaved and how there's so many wrongs, and it can be a bit overwhelming. But instead of being overwhelmed, if we were to go, actually, what can I do to make a difference in the world? I'm doing this thing. I've been successful. I'm good with myself, but can I make a bigger difference? Those people, that'd be great. I'd love to work with those people.
Yeah, and the first route you talked about, I think it's hugely important, because if you're working with people who are kind of on the receiving end of support, then that's brilliant. If you're working on the end of people who are giving support, so we're doing a gig with helping youth work or workers be well themselves, because if they're not well, they can't, and there's a lot of problems in the front line of people who are actually doing the work, and that's like, are you well? And often this is just helping them reflect, slow, go for a walk, get into nature. You've just done one, it's like commit to half an hour walk each week and just go to the trees, and that's it. It's a massive thing. But if you could take all those people with any power and influence, like everybody who's got a job, or and then you ask them, so, well, how could you do some social value? How could you help your workforce be a half a degree happier a week? However you measure that, just be mindful of the sort of joy that could be unleashed if you just not that hamster wheel. You slow down on the hamster wheel a bit. So good luck with that. I think that is a really worthy mission, and a big
I'm joining in. So.
So yeah, we're 9 months into building a new thing, which we're practicing on every day, which is sort of a very inclusive community of practice, where people like yourself, can come to a trusted, safe place and go, look, I believe in humanity. I believe in moderating our interests, in collaborating, in trusting one another to try and build a better people and a better planet. That's a bit of a lifetime mission for Annabelle and I. Never be finished, of course, but it's about one conversation at a time, and here we are having a conversation. So handing back to Annabelle, I've probably done with my hard questions for the moment.
No, and I'm sort of conscious of the time as well. I was just interested in what advice you might give someone, Jacqueline. The things of, like, you are not what you do, and how does one begin one's awakening, I guess, is a question. Because I feel we talk about awakening, so it's been very interesting to hear you use it. Because it's sort of, it means something,
stuff.
and yeah.
So the biggest thing that I would rely on, that I invite people to, and it's never advice, it's just an invitation, is to find their quiet. Rob talked about going out in nature and looking at the trees and so on, and that is right for some people. Some people meditate, some people write, some people do Sudoku puzzles, whatever it is. But find your quiet. We are so unused to having a quiet mind. Now, I'm a person with a very busy mind. I've always got 100 projects on the go. I am a busy-headed person. But the value of embracing the silence, embracing the quiet, embracing rest has done wonders for my well-being. So if nothing else, find your own quiet and keep finding it. And in that quiet, you don't need other people to tell you what needs to change or what needs to be done. It occurs. It just occurs to you, because the quiet is consciousness, and in the consciousness are all the answers. And so when you get quiet, and it doesn't always happen for me that I get quiet and then I think, oh, I know how to do this thing. No, but the practice of getting quiet and allowing myself space and not working on stuff and not working on myself allows my mind to be more reflective more of the time. And that's when ideas come, and that's when I know, okay, this is the next mission. um, and also trust the process. Trust that you know what you need to do when you need to do it, and that's it. It's as simple as that.
And how do you find your
Yeah.
quiet, Jacqueline? That's a beautiful,
Yeah,
beautiful piece of
that
advice.
was
But I
that was
want to
my
know how you
question.
find your
What's
quiet.
yours, Jacqueline?
We're
um,
terrible, aren't we? You know. Yeah.
yeah. So I forced myself. I taught myself not to get up and start working at 6 o'clock. Um, you know, because I used to wake up and my thoughts were on me, like what I need to do. Da, 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 da. So I spent a long time just going, okay, I'm not going to do that. So sometimes I might do some sort of yoga or something. Sometimes I might just stay in bed. Like my current thing is just staying in bed, and doing some reading, or just being gentle with myself in the morning. Um, I walk away. So when I had a breakdown a couple of years ago, and I was in this work, like I was mentoring people. It was just pre-COVID. I was mentoring people. I was in this work. Like you think I'd know better, but I was such a driving force. I was on such a mission. I just never stopped. And one day in the middle of London, I had a complete breakdown and couldn't even get home. You know, was in tears. My head had gone completely. And when I came out of that, what I realized was I you know, I used to drink, right? And I was the person who was last at the bar. I'm that person. I would push through. You know, if you don't go home at like 1 o'clock in the morning, you go find a bar that's open, or you go find another party, and then you just change and go into work, and so on. So I was that person, and I realized I do that with work. I push through. I'm working on a project, and I'm feeling full, or I'm feeling agitated. Instead of taking a break, I push through. I get it done. I've got to get it done. And so I find my quiet now by recognizing, okay, I'm pushing through. Go and do like a what I call an exercise snack. You know, just make a cup of tea and do a few
Some
squats.
star jumps, yeah.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
go and change the energy. And I find that I settle down a bit, and I'll come back to work in a different way. So there's lots
Beautiful.
of different ways, but different things work for different people. So
Yeah, of
when you
course, yeah.
find your quiet,
Mm.
um, what will work for you will occur to you rather than following other people's techniques.
It's so lovely hearing you and your stories, and what is lovely, the coaching you had about writing, that you mentioned that you were not in the book. I think your particular beauty in the coaching part is telling your story that's so relatable to all of us. You know, so often when we talk to coaches, we're in the process, we're in the minds, you know, of facilitating through tools or processes, but actually the first person story that you share, I think is just really relatable for your people that know you, work with you. And I, you know, keep putting yourself in the center of the story, because it never gets in the way of anyone else. I think that's, you know, how your ego doesn't detract, if you like, from who's on the other side of the screen. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I think we
Annabelle, you're on
are
mute. No,
good.
you're not on mute.
Oh, no, not.
No, you're not.
Thanks for that. I think we are good for time. So I would just like to finish with saying, Jacqueline, is there anything that we can do to help? What can people do to help? Help you? Help anything? Is normally the closing question.
Wow.
Apart from buy the book.
Buy the book. Yeah.
Support the crowdfund. If you know of any publicists or people who want to review the book, then
Where's the crowdfund helping? Link below, but give us the link and we will share it with people after the show.
I'm still working on the crowdfund. So
well,
okay.
whenever you have
there
it,
will
we'll
be a
share
link
it.
by
We'll
the
be
time
happy
it's
to
published.
share it.
Yeah.
We'll share
link
it
below to the newsletter or the crowdfund. Well, I mean, we have a buddy scheme where, which is volunteers writing to people in prison and talking to them about our distance learning programs. So people could partake in that if they wanted to. I'm going to say this, even though this is very rookie. I'm really at the start of this new journey, quite early on in the new journey, even though I've been coaching for years and so on. I don't know what my niche is. So if someone wants to help me find my niche, that'd be great. Because my niche for a long time was the people in prison, and that's not my niche anymore. You know, that world isn't. I'm meant to be doing something else, but I'm not really sure what my niche is. So help me with
Brilliant.
that.
People to help Jacqueline with her niche. I think you're onto something with chief execs, people in power. I think you've got a very special gift that needs sharing. Okay, until the next time.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Thank you.